Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on 9th Thirumurai, and we have completed the first 7 Thirupadigams and we are moving on to the 8th Thirupadigam. In this we are going to start with the very first verse. This particular Padigam is written by a saint called as Karuvoor Thevar. We will be talking about Karuvoor Thevar, as in Tamil versions are still going on. We will be consolidating all those and we will shortly have an English version of those as well to introduce us to the different saints who have written this particular Padigams, and also we will talk about the 14 places for which these Padigams were written. Let's directly move on to the Padigam, which is the first verse right now. This is written in a raga called as, the ragam for this is Bhupalam, which is ideal to be sung early in the morning because it gives us a lot of energy, the energy that is needed to run the entire day. Let's look at the first verse now. Thiruchitrambalam. Ganam viri kudumi semmani kavainaku karayanal katsavi paguvai panam viri tutti பொறிகொள் வெள்ளையேற்று பாம்பணி பரமர்தம் கோயில் மணம் வீரி தருதே மாம்பொழில் மொழுப்பின் மழைதவள் வளரிளம் காமுகம் திணர் நிறை அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவள்ளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. Thiruchitrambalam. Honestly, this is a lovely verse because if you look at it, of course it's sung for the temple called as Chidambaram, but if you look at it, the first 2 lines of this verse is talking only about the beauty of the snake which Lord Shiva is wearing as his ornament. So the beauty of the snake is elaborated here. It seems the snake has a bunch of heads. If you can imagine it, it's really honestly scary, I would say. Yeah, the snake has a bunch of heads. Not only that, it has the beautiful stone, we call it as an semmani, which is considered to be very, very expensive and a very precious gem. The reason is because the gem is formed due to the poison. The poison was not excreted for a very long time, and it solidifies and it becomes a crystal, and that becomes very, very expensive and precious crystal. So here this particular snake has got the crystal, so it gives a very dashing red look. Not only that, its mouth is filled with poison, and it has ears and eyes as the same organ, because we all know snakes can't hear, right? So if you look at it, the eyes behaves as the same as the ears as well, and its mouth is widely opened, and the skin of the snake has got a lot of designs in it, most probably designer snake. Yeah, so it has a lot of designs on the snake, and it has got white teeth, and though that kind of beautiful snake is what Lord Shiva, who is residing in Thiruchitrambalam, is wearing as his ornament. So this particular verse comes in as Lord Shiva is residing in a place called as Thiruchitrambalam. Thiruchitrambalam has a lot of greeneries, as in it has a lot of trees, which is the pupil tree. It also has a lot of mango trees, and because of this trees over there, it's so dense, and because of that it looks so dark, and yet Lord Shiva is the brightest of the brightest of the brightest. So he is dancing in this place called as Thiruchitrambalam. That is what verse number 1 talks about. And if you look at it in a detailed manner, today we are talking about sustainability or biodiversity and all these, but in fact without nature nothing can survive. Even human beings can never survive even for a minute without nature. and that reality is portrayed in almost all our Thirumurai. You can't see a single verse without the explanation of the nature, which means the saints who saw Lord Shiva equally saw nature, and they saw Shiva as part of the nature itself. So what we have to do is start seeing nature, and we have to start protecting the nature as well. That is what verse number 1 gives us as a lesson. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. The second verse. The verse goes this way. Tiruchitrambalam. Tiruchitrambalam. இவ்வரும் பிறவி பௌவனி நீந்தும் ஏழையிற்கென்னோடன் பிறந்த ஐவரும் பாகையே ஆர்துணை என்றால் அஞ்சல் என்றருள் செய்வான் கோயில் கைவரும் பழனும் குழைத்த செஞ்சாலி கடைசியர் களை தரு நீலம் செய்வரம்பாரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Lovely verse, especially if we can go deeper using Siddhanta concepts. I think the second verse will be covering almost all the Siddhanta concepts. Let's look at it as an overview, as in second verse in a nutshell. In this verse, our saint is saying that this entire birth is like a ocean. We all know how difficult it is going to be if we want to cross across an ocean. Imagine if we have a boat, a ship, even a speedboat, whatever it is going to take hell a lot of time to cross over an ocean. And if you remember, we have already spoken about this in Thiruvarutpayan. This birth is an ocean. We don't have any equipment or any kind of a tool with us. We are trying to cross this with our hands. And are our hands going to support us? Yes, it is. But there are 5 enemies within us itself. We do have foes who are there within us, 5. Who are they? We all know about them. Imagine if I don't want to talk about something, I'm tempted to talk about it. If I don't want to see something, I'm tempted to see it. If I don't want to hear anything, I'm tempted to hear. If I don't want to talk, as in speaking or listening or seeing or even feeling it, we are tempted. Why? Because they are our enemies. They are within us. They don't want us to get on to the next stage. And whenever we are being sabotaged by these 5 people, all we have to do is just call out for help. And Lord Shiva will immediately come down. That's why he says, Anjal endru arul seivan koyil. Lord Shiva will come down and say, don't worry, I'm there. Don't get scared. All your fears are going to be taken away, washed away. I am there. This kind of verse comes in as a confidence for the soul by Lord Shiva. He is giving a confidence to the soul. Another last 2 lines talks about the real Siddhanta concept. He says, this particular place, which is called as Tiruchitrambalam, there's a lot of fields, paddy fields in there, and the paddy fields are sowed with a lot of expensive and the most superior quality of rice variety. So it's that kind of a place. Among that, there are some nice flowers, authentic, exotic flowers which are being bloomed in that place. But since it doesn't belong there, if you remember, paddy fields are supposed to be with grains, rice grains, or it's basically for talking about the food grains and all these. If we do have even the most expensive flower there, it doesn't belong there. So the ladies who are working there, they are just plucking away these flowers. If you can resemble with this metaphor, the entire paddy field is the world that we are in. We are the most expensive flower, but since we don't belong in that particular paddy field, we should be removed. Who is the right person to remove us from this paddy field? Is our Guru, because without a Guru, we cannot reach the Lord's lotus feet. That is what This particular verse, as in the second verse, talks about Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam. And the third verse, the verse goes this way, Thiruchitrambalam. தாயி நேரிரங்கும் தலைவவோ என்றும் தமியனின் துணைவவோ என்றும் நாயினேன் இருந்து புலம்பினால் இறங்கி நலம்புரி பரமர்தம் கோயில் வாயினேர் அரும்பும் மணிமுறு கலர வளரிளம் சோலைமா தளிர் தீயினேர் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. Thiruchitrambalam. It's today's verse is actually a very lovely verse because it talks about a good comparison between what we are able to see in this world and compares it with the Almighty. We all know the mom's love. If we can imagine, it is beyond any boundary. That's what they call it as a mother instinct. Mother can take, or she can go to any extent to protect the kid. Even if it is going to risking her own life, she would still be able to do it, because that is what a mom's love is all about. Now, how about Lord Shiva? He is indeed more superior than a mom's love, because a mom can also be expecting certain things at some point in time, but Lord Shiva doesn't expect anything from us. He is only a giver, he is not a taker. So if we look at it, he is more superior and beyond any kind of a boundary that we can draw. So Lord Shiva is more loving and grace, filled with grace compared to a mother. Not only that, he is the sole savior for us as well. But what are we doing? We are similar to a dog. Dog is not represented as a bad animal or an inferior animal here, because we all know loyalty of a dog is at a different level. But there is one characteristic of dog that is usually compared in all our Thirumurai. When you look at a dog, even after it vomits or something, it will start eating its own waste. So similar to what we are doing as of now. We all know Anavam, Kanmam and Maya are something that is like a vomit or like a shit. But are we going away from it? No, we are trying to eat it again and again and again. And because of that, we are getting into this vicious cycle of birth and death. But even though we are like a dog with that particular quality dog, even then, when we start crying to Lord Shiva, begging to Lord Shiva, asking for his grace is always bestowed on us. So these are the two lines. The first two lines in this verse talks about Lord Shiva's grace, and the second two lines talks about the natural beauty of this particular place. He says there's a lot of trees and plants and vegetation in this particular place. There is also mango trees. The mango trees are it's as if it's bearing fire on its head, which means all the leaves, if you look at the tender leaves, it is always red in color, which is represented as fire. So all the mango trees are so bushy, and at the same time it is so young and vibrant that it looks as if fire is coming out of that particular tree. And these kind of, the entire place is filled with mango orchards, and this place is called as Thiruchitrambalam, and that is the only place for the souls to reside in, or a savior for us. That is what verse number 3 is all about. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam. The fourth verse goes this way, Thiruchitrambalam. துந்துபி குழல்யாழ் மொந்தை வனியம்ப தொடர்ந்திருடியர் கணம் துதிப்ப நந்திகை முழவம் முகிலென முழங்க நடம்புரி பரமர்தம் கோயில் அந்தியன் மறை நான்காரணம் போதிந்த அரும்பெறல் மறை பொருள் மறையோர் சிந்தையில் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவள்ளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse brings in a feeling of festival. It's an entire place, the entire place as Chidambaram, which is Thiruchitrambalam, is having a festive air in it. As in, there are so many musical instruments that are being played there. What type of musical instruments we are able to see today are either it will be having like something like violin, where we do have strings, so strings based musical instruments, or air based musical instruments like flute and all these. Alternatively, it can be something like drums, which is made out of skin, or usually the dried skin of a cow or something. Alternatively, it can be made out of metals, so the heavy metal sounds that we are able to see. Alternatively, people can be using their vocal cord and they can be singing. All these 5 types of sounds are being spoken about here, which means the entire place is filled with such a beautiful, vibrant energy that we are able to hear all these sounds. And in this place, Nandiyam Peruman is using his drums and he is playing a music, and Lord Shiva is dancing for that tune. We all know this is what Pradosham is all about. Pradosham comes in as the beautiful dance that is being performed by Lord Shiva. And this is the place where we are able to see all the priests who have already been in the jnana level. They are not just chanting for the sake of chanting, but they have already understood the meaning, inner meaning of it, and they have given up any kind of selfishness, and they are only doing all the rituals for the benefit of these souls around in this particular planet, and they are totally surrendering themselves to Lord Shiva. Those kind of priests are able to understand the meaning of the Vedas from within. Lord Shiva from within is explaining or making sure that these verses are, or the meaning of the verses are being more clear for them while they are chanting. That place, or that blissful place, is called as Tillai, which is also called as Chidambaram. That is what verse number 4 is all about. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam, the 5th verse. The verse goes this way: Thiruchitrambalam. கண்பனியரும்ப கைகள் மொட்டித்து என் களை கணி ஓலம் என்றோலேட்டு என்பெலாம் உருகும் அன்பர்தம் கூட்டத்து என்னையும் புணர்ப்பவன் கோயில் பண்பல தெளிதேன் பாடி நின்றாட பனிமலர் சோலை சோழ் முழுப்பில் ஷண்பகம் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவள்ளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. As usual, lovely verse. The first 2 lines, or the statements, basically there are 4 lines in this verse, right? The first 2 lines talks about Lord Shiva and his grace, and the last 2 lines talks about the nature, basically the beauty of that particular place. So in this he says, the first 2 lines goes this way: there are so many devotees, aspirants of Lord Shiva, who are there, and they all are, their eyes are filled with tears. It is not like crying, but it's filled with tears because they are so happy and the blissful state. Even without their conscience, they are able to, the tears are just popping out, and automatically, without any kind of an instruction or whatever, their hands starts to just start worshipping Lord Shiva. And at the same time, they all are saying, continuously saying, that no one else is our savior other than Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is there, who's going to be our savior, who's going to help us get out of this karmic deeds and all these. That kind of a place, the entire Thillai Chidambaram place is filled with devotees of this kind, as in they are worshipping constantly. Their hands have never been apart, they are always together, and their eyes are filled with tears, and they constantly keep chanting the mantra, saying that I am your devotee and I prefer only to be your devotee. That kind of devotees are there, and what Lord Shiva has done is kept me as part of this particular group. It's not easy to be part of an Adiyar community. We call it as the Adiyar community. It is not easy to be part of the Adiyar community. We can be part of Lord Shiva's, we can be thinking about Lord Shiva, we can be having a guru, and guru can also bestow his love and affection on us. But being with his devotees is not so easy, because we have to let go our ego, we have to let go our anger, all the possible negativity we have to let go. Only then we can be with the Adiyars or the devotees. That kind of a place is this Tiruchitrambalam, and here the entire place is filled with gardens, and there are so many flowers, and the flowers are filled with so much of nectar that the honey bees have started tasting all those, and because of that it's so happy and vibrant because of the different nectar that it is tasting. So it started singing all the possible music in this world. So even the honey bees have started singing in a particular rhythmic approach, and you can imagine the place, how beautiful, and at the same time how rich in vegetation it's going to be. That kind of a place is called as Thillai, which is Tiruchitrambalam. That is what verse number 5 is all about. It is mainly talking about devotees and the qualification of a devotee, and the qualification of we getting among the devotee community. That is what verse number 5 is all about. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. And the 6th verse, the verse goes this way: Tiruchitrambalam. நெஞ்சிடராகல அகம் புகுந்தோடுங்கும் நிலைமையோடிருள் கிழித்தெழுந்த வெஞ்சுடர் சூடர்வ போன்றொளி துளும்பும் விரிசடையாடிகள்தம் கோயில் அஞ்சுடர் போரிசை ஆழி சூழ்வட்டத்து அகம்படி மணி நீரை பரந்த செஞ்சுடர் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. Tiruchitrambalam. Today's verse talks about Lord Shiva, who is there in the place called as Thillai. This temple has a moat around us, around the temple, and the temple is protected not only with moat but also with a fence. The fence is built with very strong stones, and it has got a lot of precious stones engraved in it. Not only that, Lord Shiva is the cosmic dancer performing the beautiful mesmerizing dance in this particular place. The place is fabulously decorated, and also it has a lot of brightness in this particular temple. Brightness is needed in order to get rid of the darkness. So the first 2 lines of this particular verse talks about the darkness that any human being will have in this life. Imagine the sorrow that we have. imagine the pain that we have, imagine the disability that we are having. It can be due to our kith and kin, or due to our relatives or anyone around us, even our friends or parents or whatever. Alternatively, it can be because of our poor health condition, or it could be because of our wealth condition, or educational conditions, or it could be because of our work condition, or it can be because of anything around us. We do go through the feeling of sorrowness. Now, this sorrow feeling has to be gotten away from us. If you imagine the sorrow as darkness, the only thing we need in order to get rid of this sorrow is bright light. The bright light is none other than Lord Shiva. He is the beacon in our life. Imagine whatever sorrow we are having as of today, we can easily get rid of that only with the guidance and blessings and the love and affection that Lord Shiva is bestowing on us. All we have to do is just surrender ourselves to Him and say that, okay, you are there to take care of me. Once we surrender ourselves, whatever kind of a pain we are going through right now will all be eased out, because that is why Lord Shiva is performing the cosmic dance. Now that concludes verse number 6. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam, the 7th verse. The verse goes this way, Tiruchitrambalam. Putiralluruvam Sengadir viriya Pundiyil vandamal Vidayon Tutiral palingin Thonriya thotram Thonra nindravan valar கோயில் நாத்திரள் மாறையோர்ந்து ஓமகுண்டத்து நறுநெய்யால் மாறையவர் வளர்த்த தீத்திரள் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவள்ளர் திருச்சிற்றும் பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is actually a very different way of representing Lord Shiva. Of course, the saint starts with explaining the look of Lord Shiva. Of course, no one has seen him, and those saints who have already seen him they are trying their best to express it in words, but Lord Shiva is beyond words. We all know that, but still we are trying to visualize based on the words. He says Lord Shiva looks like a bunch of red flowers. If you collect all the red flowers and make it a mountain out of it, that is how Lord Shiva looks like. So you can imagine how soft, how elegant, and at the same time how attractive that mountain is going to be. And not only that, he is also crystal clear in nature. See what kind of a contradiction we are seeing here. Not only that, Lord Shiva is the one who resides and performs his cosmic dance in the place called as Thillai. This particular place called Thillai is filled with priests and saints who are performing their daily rituals. Because of the heaven that they are performing, the smoke is covering the entire place, and that place is where Lord Shiva is performing the cosmic dance. And he is the one who came into my heart, into my thoughts, into my ego, into my intellect, and he is the one stay put in my thoughts. If you ask this particular statement, this phrase, right, Pundiyil vanda mal vidayon, you can interpret that into two ways. One is Lord Shiva is the one who has a vehicle, which we all know. His vehicle, beautiful vehicle, is the bull. And during the Thiruvisaippa situation, Lord Thirumal, as in Vishnu, was the one who disguised himself as a bull, and he was the one who supported, or he went as a supporter for Lord Shiva during the Thiruvisaippa. So there is one meaning, straightforward meaning, to say that Lord Shiva, who has a bull, which is basically Vishnu, He is the one who resides in my heart. That is number one. Alternatively, we can also interpret in a different manner, because when you see the word mal, it also means a little bit of a tranquil state, as in some kind of a temptation that we always have, right? So that is also taken as mal. Vidai, one meaning of vidai is a bull, another meaning of it is answer. Whenever we have confusions, whenever we have some kind of a delusion, in those cases, who comes as an answer is Lord Shiva. That is also a beautiful interpretation of this verse, verse number 7. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam. And the 8th verse, the verse goes this way, Thiruchitrambalam. சீர்த்தத்தின் பூவனம் முழுவதும் ஏனை திசைகளோடண்டங்கள் அனைத்தும் போர்த்ததம் பெருமை சிறுமை போக்கொடுங்கும் புணர்புடையாடிகள்தும் கோயில் வார்த்து வந்தாமரித்து அமரரும் பிறரும் அலைகடல் எடுதீரை புனித தீர்த்த நீராரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவாளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about the omnipotent, omnipresent Shiva. If we can imagine how big he is, there's a very beautiful analogy that is given, as in a kind of a metaphor that is given here. He says, the saint says, if you can consolidate if you are able to visualize all the universe put together and all the different directions that we are, like south, east, west, north, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, all these directions, if we are able to consolidate all these directions, the entire universe, and if we are able to take the entire as in the planetary arrangements itself, including the galaxies and all these, if we can visualize how big it is going to be, we can see what kind of a magnitude we are talking about here. In front of Lord Shiva, this is nothing. It's just a grain in front of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is even more beyond, or rather his grace, his love for us, and the way how he treats us is way beyond this kind of appearance. So we are able to visualize. Of course, we can't visualize what is the size of the universe, because it just goes on and on and on. But Lord Shiva is beyond any of this. That is what today's verse is all about. And here Lord Shiva resides in the place called as Thillai, which is Thiruchitrambalam. In this place, there's a beautiful a lake, where it's a holy lake, where anyone can go and have a dip there in order to get rid of our karmic deeds. And this place is filled with all the devas as well as human beings, and any kind of a being comes there to worship Lord Shiva in order to get rid of their sins. That is what verse number 8 is all about. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam, the 9th verse. The verse goes this way, Thiruchitrambalam. பின்னு செஞ்சடையும் பிறைதவள் மொழுப்பும் பெரிய தம் கருணையும் காட்டி அன்னைதேன் காலந்தின் அமுதுகந்தாளி தாங்கு அருள் புரி பரமர்தம் கோயில் புன்னைதேன் சோரியும் பொழிலகங்கூடைந்து பொறிவரி வண்டினம் பாடும் தென்னதேன் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவாளர் திருச்சிற்றம்பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is a very interesting, and at the same time it has a lot of in-depth meaning in it. But as we said, we are going to restrict it to maximum 5 minutes, so we'll try to wrap it up as quickly as possible. Lord Shiva is in a place called as Thiruchitrambalam. This particular place has a very significant characteristic where people who are visiting Thillai will surely get their ability to renunciate all this, and they will achieve realization. The self-realization state is achieved once someone visits Thillai. This is one of the very ancient saying that we always have. Now imagine Lord Shiva is in this place. This place is filled with beautiful flower gardens and orchards, and there are a lot of flowers in it. Because of the nectar, quite a lot of honeybees are coming around there, and the sound, the zzz sounds that it's making sounds as if it is all music. This is the beauty of the place. Here Lord Shiva is there trying to feed us, as in, if you can imagine, a mom feeds the kids, right? When a mother knows that certain foods are good, for example, let's imagine broccoli. We all know how we hate broccoli, isn't it? So when we cook broccoli, of course our kids will try to run away from that or evade from that food itself. Now how do we manage this? We'll try to mix it with something like pasta or noodles or something whichever attracts the kid, and then we will make, even when you talk about lasagna, we just mix broccoli with lasagna, which is a wrong combination, but we still do that because we know our kids loves lasagna, so we try to cheat our kids. That's exactly what Lord Shiva is also doing. Lord Shiva is trying to show us something dazzling, which is nothing but his beautiful hair work and the crescent that he's having on his hair to attract us first. Once we are attracted towards him, like a mom, she shows all her dazzling, all the accessories that she's wearing, right? Her hair clip or even her chain or whatever, so that we get attracted to our mom. So once we go to her, then she starts feeding us with this food. Similar to that, Lord Shiva is trying to attract us, entice us with his beautiful crescent in his hair, and then he's trying to feed us. What is he trying to feed us is also a bitter medicine, which is called as rebirth. But he knows that we all will suffer. So as a mom, usually we try to mix honey or cheese or something. Similar to that, Lord Shiva is also trying to camouflage this birth into a more enticing one for the soul. That is why he is giving something called as Dhanu Karana Bhuvana Bhoham. Dhanu is basically the body. Karanam, Dhanu Karana Bhuvana Bhoham. Karanam means all the whatever we are attracted towards right now, as in our sense organs and all these, right? Those are the Karanam. Bhuvanam means the world that we are in. Bhogam are the earthly pleasures that we are enticed towards as of today. So Lord Shiva is giving us this Dhanakarana Bhuvana Bhoham only to make sure that we are comfortable in taking this birth. Even though this is a bitter medicine, he's trying to camouflage the bitterness with all these, so that we will take this birth, get rid of this karmic deeds due to the experience that we are going through, and then slowly achieve his lotus feet. Lovely verse as of now, which is verse number 9. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam. And the 10th verse. The verse goes this way. Umbar nadimbar விளங்கியங்கெங்கும் ஒளி வளர் திருமணி சுடர் கான்று எம்பிரான் நாடம் செய் சூழலங்கெல்லாம் இருட்பிழம்பார ஏரி கோயில் வம்புலாம் கோவில் கோபுரம் கூடம் வளர்நிலை மாட மாளிகைகள் செம்பொனால் அரும்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவாளர் திருச்சிற்றும் பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Another beautiful verse. In this, the place called as Thillai, as in Chitrambalam, is being demonstrated. The beauty of this place is demonstrated in this particular verse. It seems we all have heard that when we talk about heaven, it's filled with light, and when we talk about hell, it is full of darkness. earth is the only place where we do have equal amount of day and night, as in the light as well as the darkness. Physically, when we talk about it, literal meaning of it. Now, when Lord Shiva is there, and especially when he is performing his cosmic dance, how can darkness be there? Literal darkness as well as the inner meaning of the darkness that we are going to talk about here. The inner meaning of darkness means Anavam. We all know the entanglement. When we talk about bright light, it means God's grace. So, wherever Lord Shiva is there, obviously Anavam is going to be destroyed, or at least kept in a more submissive manner, and the brightness, which is Lord Shiva's grace, will take the it will supersede everything else. So, the presiding information that we have to understand from this is Lord Shiva is performing his dance because he wants to give the tranquil state to the soul around that he's able to see. We are. So, what is needed is we have to go visit Thillai. Not when we say visit, it's not about physically visiting there, but we have to start meditating about the cosmic dancer in between our eyebrows, which is what is called as Thillai, as in Chidambaram. So, the moment we start meditating on him, when we start visualizing him, that is where he will come down and he will bestow his love and grace on us, which will end of the day clear our entanglements. That is the beauty of this particular verse. Not only that, he also says the brightness that is filled in this place is because of all the high raised buildings here, and not only that, the buildings are engraved with a lot of gold on it, so it is actually the reflections are also making it look bright. Not only that, because of Lord Shiva being there, that is also the reason why it is bright. Brightness to the effect that we are confused whether heaven itself has come down to the earth. That is what verse number 10 is all about. Sivaya Nama Thiruchitrambalam, and the finale verse, which is verse number 11. Let's look at the verse first. Thiruchitrambalam. Irundirai tarala பறவை சூழாகலத்து தென்னிலங்கண்ணில் பொன் மாக்கள் திருந்துயிர் பருவ தரிமுரு கருவோர் துறை வளர்த்தீந்தமிழ் மாலை பெருந்தரும் கருணை பரமர்த்தம் கோவில் பொழிலகங்கோடைந்து வண்டுரங்க செருந்தி நின்றாரம்பும் பெரும் பற்ற போலியோர் திருவளர் திருச்சிற்றம் பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse, as we said, this is the finale verse, which also comes in as why should we read this entire Padikam? The way how Karuvoor Thevar is explaining this particular verse is, the place is called as Thillai. In this, the cosmic dancer is performing the beautiful dance which is going to give us a realization, and in this place, to this place, Karuvoor Thevar has sung the earlier 10 verses along with this, which is total 11 verses. These are called as a garland made out of language, Tamil. The significance of garlands are, we all know, we can make garlands based on flower or gold, or using these kind of the literatures. The advantage of a flower, as in the flower garland, is it cannot stay for long. It will wither out or it will dry out. But when we talk about gold, a garland made of gold, it doesn't have a smell as beautiful, pleasant smell as a flower, but it can be reused. But when you talk about literature garland, it has the smell, beautiful smell that mesmerizes us, and at the same time it can be reused as many times and as many years as possible. You look at these These garlands have already been placed in front of Lord Shiva almost like 1000 years back, and yet today we are able to reuse these garlands. So the beauty of this garland is when someone reads this on a regular basis, they do have the clarity in their thoughts, clarity in their basically the knowledge that we have, the intellect that we have is already having so much of dust over it. There is basically we are in a whirlpool. If you look at it, we are in a whirlpool of worldly affairs and the thoughts and whatever. Now how do we get rid of it? It's basically camouflaged with a layer of smoke. Now all we have to do is clear this smoke. In order to clear this smoke, we need to have this padikam. When we read this padikam on a regular basis, we will be having a clarity, intellectual clarity. The intellectual clarity will make us reach Lord Shiva's lotus feet in a jiffy. That is what verse number 11 is all about. I'll come back again with the next padikam altogether very soon. Until then, Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam.